Today I'm going to be recreating some of my old custom makeup faces and trying to improve them. So these are some of my old faces and I'm just scrolling through to see which ones I'm going to be recreating. I want to recreate like the oldest ones to show kind of the difference from then to now, especially these ones. These ones are ones that I've already filmed tutorials on months ago, and I feel like I've improved a lot since then, and so has custom makeup itself. And I also want to include one of my early human faces, so maybe this. So I'm going to be recreating those faces. So we want to start off by picking the skin tone, which is what I usually do first. And for the first look, it's like a dark blue skin tone. So maybe here, this will do. So here you can see the look that I'm going to be recreating. I'm going to have this on my other monitor so I can see it as well. So I just realized that I picked a darker skin tone than the one that I was actually meant to, but it kind of works because I feel like it definitely looks better. As you can see in the one that I did before, the skin tone was like a very different color to the face makeup and it didn't really blend very well. Starting as usual with the base. I still like this, and we want to make it, I want to go for like a dark blue somewhere around here, and then usually I like to build it up. So start with like the highlight. Since the face is blue, I want to make it a lighter blue than the one that we already used. So you can see it's a very similar shade to the old face, but it's a lot more clean and it blends a lot better. So I want to use the same color palette as well, and this eye makeup that I used before is like very old, and I want to say the lips look awful. I'm not sure what I was thinking with the color. So usually I go to the eyes next. It's kind of strange though, because now my makeup style, I kind of like to pick a base for the eyes. So for example, in this situation, maybe something like, I want something with color, maybe something like this. Not that I'm going to use this, I'm just giving an example. I'd pick that for the base of the eye. Then I usually go to the nose. Not that one. Yeah, something like this. So I pick the nose and then I build on top of the eyes again. So this one has tears, and I feel like the tears are like a very prominent feature of that face. So I'm gonna try and do something with similar makeup again, but just make it look better. So this was like yellow. I like the color, but it's very bold. I don't actually like that base, so I'm gonna remove it and add something else. I used to love this, but now I kind of hate it because it just colors very like this whole thing. I feel like if the nose area wasn't so attached to the eyes, it would be so much better. I don't ever use it at all because it all just colors too bright. It's kind of cool for some looks, like it does kind of look cool, but it's not my thing anymore. I used to love these petal makeup and I've not used it in a while, but I think it could be cool here for this kind of face. So the colors are like yellow, blue, and there's like purplish color. So maybe I just make it like a yellow. Actually, I don't want to make it yellow. Maybe something like this. So my old style was like, I used to love using vitiligo. I don't really use it that often anymore, but I'm going to use it here. So I use very pale blue. I don't think I'm going to go for blue this time, or I might do, but a different kind. I feel like somewhere around there looks cool. I'm going to actually change the color of these to be where it actually appears more yellow. And then the last detail I want to use for the face, I love using this. I feel like it adds so much. You don't have to add eyebrows, but I sometimes like to add them, but like a similar color to the face, just so it adds a shape above the eyes, but it doesn't look like an eyebrow, it just blends in with the skin. And then for lips, I'm very picky with lips. There's not really many that I actually like. Sometimes these lips can look cool. I don't use them that often, but yeah, that could look cool, but I don't think it's the right vibe for the old look. I think something like this, but definitely not yellow. It doesn't look right. I'd probably say around this color probably looks the best. Something like that. And then the major difference with makeup now compared to before is what you can actually add on to this after. So the item adjustment is actually a huge part of custom makeup now, in my opinion. It makes faces so much better. So I love adding, where is it? I love adding the code eyelashes. In this situation, I'd probably make them like a blue or yellow because I feel like the yellow was like the focal point of the face. So I'm just gonna do that again. I like dragging these slightly down to change the shape of the eye a little bit, to make them like a little bit thinner, like this. And then sometimes I like adding the Lady Gaga ones as well, but in a different color, so maybe dark blue, and then adjusting them a little bit smaller and like changing position until you're happy with it. Let me see closer up. Yeah, see, I like that. I think that looks kind of cool. But the only thing I'm not 100% keen on is the lips. And for me, right now, I'm not like 100% keen on the face, but that's pretty much because of no item adjustment. I'm so used to having like so many things on the face that this looks like really plain to me. And of course, one of the big things is adding hair as well. So one of the hairs that I love at the minute is definitely the Scarlet Face one. I'm sure you've noticed I use it in like every video. This one. I like to scale it down and tilt it back a little bit, kind of like this. And since in the last tutorial as well I did like hair combos, I'll also do hair in this one. So some things I like using for hair, or these ones are my favorite ones, but I'm struggling to find too many things to layer well with the Scarlet Face hair at the minute, so not all of this works with it. I know these do as bangs. And in my previous tutorials before, I said that you should try and use the face colors outside of the face as well, so like in accessories and things like that, or hair. But in this case, I'm not going to use it in the hair, and that's because I plan to maybe add accessories that will add that color in the future anyway. And again, I'm not using specific colors or hexes, I just do it kind of by what looks right. This is kind of how I've been doing hairs recently. I just add the front and then a different one to like cover the top, and then it's pretty much done. I'm not sure what style I want to go for. I'm not sure if I'll end up liking this hair or not, but I feel like this could even work. Maybe one more hair, which will be, I like adding this because I'm going to cover the top of the head anyway. It just needs to like give it some shape. Actually, I don't like the messiness of this one. Sometimes it takes me a while to decide on hair combos. I think something like this can work. And then to add to the face, for example, like to extend the custom makeup or whatever, this outfit that this face that I'm looking at has tears. So I like to do this for tears. Use these earrings to shrink them and then push them back. And sometimes this position is fine for the tears, and honestly I think for this outfit it's okay for this position. The tears were yellow in this one, so I'm gonna just make them yellow. You can put them to neon, or if you don't want to use neon, you can set it to any kind of material toggle. I don't like the neon yellow. That color looks kind of cool. Yeah, I'm gonna change it to this color. And then I don't actually like how the eyes look, so it's not giving me the right kind of look, so I'm gonna tilt them down a little bit and then move them up to push the eyes out that way, and then bring them forward a little bit like that. It doesn't change too much, but it definitely changes the expression a little bit. So right now the face doesn't stand out too much because there's not that much contrast in the actual outfit. The rest of the hair is blue, so with a couple of extra details it turns into something like this. I didn't add much, just a couple of items on and around the face with item adjustment, and you can see it makes the face look so much better. This is one of the less dramatic ones that I've done, but you can see the custom makeup before. In my opinion, I use the custom makeup as a focal point of the outfit that draws all the attention, but I feel like now you can use it more as a base. You still want it to look good and draw attention, but I feel like it's the item adjustment that actually does most of the work. The custom makeup is there to just act as a base for that, to make it look better, at least in my interpretations of how 2025 ethereal outfits look. So this is kind of my process. If you guys would like want another video explaining in depth my process of item adjustment to make faces better in different genres, for example, I know a lot of people ask about the horror ones that I make. If you guys would want a video dedicated to that, I can show you how I do it and some of the things that I do. But for this one, I'm mostly going to be focusing on the custom makeup. But I thought this was worth mentioning because it's still a big step in the way I make faces. Oh, and for this look, I didn't really have anything in mind, so I just went with the flow, and it kind of turned out to be a fish or some sort of sea creature. And I think it kind of looks cool. I feel like it looks unique, and it kind of matches the colors in the face. So that's what it turned into. I think before I used it as a spacey outfit. I don't really remember, but it kind of fits, and I feel like it gives a similar vibe, just in the sea this time. So I feel like we did okay with that one. Last thing before I want to move on to the next face is I want to quickly see the difference between the current face that I just made and the old face. So I have saved this outfit in case I want to make something and finish it. So I'm not going to lose the face, but here we go. Here's the difference. And I think we can see, I don't think it looks terrible. I see the vision. It looks cool with the actual eye thing, but I think you can see it doesn't blend in as much. It's very all over the place compared to the last face, which I didn't save, so I can't even put it on. But you can see the difference. It's a very big difference. This is like very bright. I do like the way this looks, but it looks a bit distracting. I feel like there's too much going on and it looks a bit chaotic. You can kind of see that the vitiligo is popping out a little bit too much. I don't mind how it looks, but again, it just looks like a lot. And I feel like with the makeup style that I'm using more now, it's a lot more blended, proper. It's nothing is like standing out too much in the wrong places that makes it look like cluttered. And I used to love that style a lot. Like, I still do find it pretty, but I tried to move away from it a little bit. And the lips, just, I don't know what was going on with the lips. No comment. So I'm actually only going to do one more face for this video because the last one took a little bit longer than I realized. So I'm just going to include one non-human face and one human face. I will post another one because there's still like plenty more styles that require like completely different way to do custom makeup than the one that I showed before and this one. So I'm going to do another one with like horror custom makeup and some other kinds of non-human. And maybe some different skin tones for a human, because I see people struggle with dark skin tones a lot. So I'm going to try and cover like as much as I can. So I'm going to do a few different ones, hopefully posted maybe over this week or the next week. So anyway, the next face that I wanted to do was like the oldest human one that I have saved, which is here. One of the oldest ones anyway. Let me just reset the thing. So this face. And I don't know what I was thinking. I don't know where the eyebrows are. I don't know why I've got no eyebrows. I don't really like these eyes. At the time I think I liked them, but now there's something about them I really don't like, and I'm not sure why the top was so red. I've always tried to go for like realistic style of human faces because I'm not really a fan that much of the cute kind of style. So this looks like a very early version. So we're gonna go and fix that. So I'm gonna get that up on the side so I can see what we're looking at, and then I'll start working on it. So for this one, the contour isn't too noticeable or aggressive, but now I feel like I'd like to make it a bit more harsh so you can see the depth of it a little bit better. So I'm going to use this, and then I'm going to put on top of that, I like to put a base, so like this. I'm going to make it lighter. So now you can see the line's quite clear, and that just adds an extra layer of depth. You can see like a curvature to the face. And then on top of this one, so I like to make that a bit lighter than the contour, and then on top of that, I like to add this, and then make it even lighter, a little bit lighter like this, because this is the actual highlight of the face. This is what you want to show where the face is. And then I like to go and build the structure of the face. So in a human face, it's like the eye sockets, and for that, I like to use this here. I like to make it quite dark, so you can see, but I don't make it black or anywhere on the grayscale because this is not a human tone. So I like to go to where around the skin tone area, which is for me there, somewhere around this area, and then I like to darken it there. So anytime you, for example, zoom in, you're seeing skin color, so it just looks like skin pigment. And then for this character, I use the male eyes. I don't like them eyes anymore, so I'm not going to be using them ones. For male eyes, if I use them, it's usually these. I really like the way these look, but that is not the vibe of the first face, so I'm going to stick to female eyes. I feel like these eyes are my favorite when it comes to female eyes at the minute. They kind of look realistic, but a little bit cartoonish, so that's fine for me. I prefer realism, but I can work with these. So I had kind of like dark eyes, and I'm just going to make them darkish again, so somewhere like here. And you can see already around the eye area looks a lot more real. And then with these eyes, you can add shading as well, which changes. I wouldn't ever put it here unless you want black eye look around it. I kind of like it. Around here, this is good because you can actually see the depth of it, of the eyes. Next, I usually add a nose after I've got that, the eyes. I prefer thin noses, so I'm just gonna, not that one though. I prefer, yeah, maybe something like this. But then if you want it to look real, I sometimes go to the masculine section. I pick out a slightly bigger nose, maybe something like that, and then drag it below this, because this defines the nose a bit more. Then you can change the color, but you don't want to do it dark because you can see it starts to add the black line. So maybe around here it works. And so I like to add two noses sometimes if I have enough space. And then for the third one, Sometimes I'll add something extra around the eyes to make it a little bit stick out a bit more, or add little highlights in the corner of the eyes with the last slot. Or I will add, for example, where are they? Oh, I'm in the masculine section. For example, these freckles here. And in the old face, I also have freckles. So I'm gonna use the freckles and then drag them below the highlight so it's not as visible. And then make it a little bit darker. So now I'm gonna add some eyebrows. And I'm not sure what expression I wanted because there's no eyebrows. So I'm just gonna have to make this up. I feel like for more feminine ones, you want to go for the thin ones. Masculine, obviously thicker, but I feel like for some reason, some of the masculine ones are a bit more realistic as well. So for example, I love these ones. I think that looks good. And then for the lips, it's like, again, I said this last time, the hardest part for me because I don't really like many of the lips. When it comes to making realistic faces, I feel like a lot of them are difficult to use. They're quite big and look like they're always pouting compared to like real life when you're not going to look like that all the time. Something important to mention with lips, for example, these glossy ones, you can see that I'm hovering over bright blue here and it's not coming out bright blue here. Only the highlight is a very mild shade of this. So the actual lips, when you want them to get in skin color, you want to drag them to all these weird colors to see what matches yours, because they already have like pink already on them, so you have to play around with it to get it like a normal skin color sometimes. And that's another thing with makeup, when you're doing it in the chair, it's always going to look different to when you step out here because the lighting's different. So in the chair it makes it look a lot lighter and not as accurate, so I'd always step out, and if you don't close this before you step out, you can still change the colors once you're out, so I like to do that. I'm just going to use these ones for now. And you kind of want your lips to be a similar tone to the rest of the facial colors. So in my opinion, the ones that are around the nose and the eyes. Sometimes it can work if you're like doing a lipstick color or whatever, or I feel like this could work. It's a little bit darker, but I think it works quite well. And I think we actually need to make the contour a little bit darker to make the depth a little bit more. You see here, you can see the contour, but it kind of looks a little bit flatter, and the more heavy you go, the more like round the face looks and the more like realistic. I know it gets like dark, but it's not going to be as noticeable once you add hair. When you step out here, you can see the face has a lot more shape than just flat to the face. Not sure what hair she would have, but for the face, I'm going to make an unusual hair combo. So I'm going to start with this. I'm going to go for like dark brown, I think, because she has brown eyes. I feel like it kind of matches. I want to go for this, and lately I really like the bangs of the old hair, this one. I think they look really cool, so I'm going to be using them. I also love the bangs of this hair here. I feel like they also look really cool, so I'm going to be adding them. And then for the main part of the hair, so I like this, I just don't like the part here of the hair, so hopefully fix that. We want one where I can add basically just the base, so maybe like this. And that is pretty much done. I know there's a little bald spot there where the parting is, but we can add a hair accessory or whatever to fix it. And this face, it's not the most realistic face I've ever made, but it's similar to the old one, but just in a more updated style. I can show you how I make an actual realistic face. That'll be coming in the next one. For this one, I just wanted to redo the old faces that I did. I've been saving all of these old faces and not deleting them on purpose so I can come back and redo them, but I'm going to show you the difference again between this face and the last face. So this face and this was the old one. You see the difference? And that is pretty much the end for this video. Like I said, I'm going to be making some more over the next week or two with different kind of faces, different styles, different ways that I use makeup. And if you want me to, again, just let me know if you want me to go through an in-depth item adjustment video on how to use it to enhance custom makeup and make your faces even better, because I do think that custom makeup is just a base now instead of like focal point. I'd be more than happy to do that. I feel like it's something that I enjoy explaining. I do like making tutorials because I feel like I get to teach you my process, but also some mistakes that I noticed and some tips, and again, ways that I've improved my own faces over this time that may help you. Because I know some people, when they post tutorials, they'll just like include the items that they use, the makeup that they used, and that's it. They don't explain things, and that's fine if you want a quick tutorial, but I like to explain to help you be able to create your own faces. I've said this before. I like to show you why some things don't work and how to do things in a way that I think does work. So from my experience anyway. So if you want to see any more videos, just let me know, and hopefully I can get some more out soon. Sorry for the wait. I know it's been a while since my last tutorial, but we got here in the end. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.